The title of this presentation comes because I was asked to talk about my experiences as an editor. So I've called it Editing an International Journal for 20 plus years, or How to Influence People and Not Make Friends. In English, that's this expression: you can influence people and make friends. If you're a journal editor, you will influence people, but you won't make friends. Now, I'm going to talk about my experience with the International Journal Fatigue, because I'm a senior co-editor on that. It was founded by Butterworth in 1979. I replaced Les Pook as editor in 1998, and so I've been an editor for more than half of the existence of the International Journal Fatigue. And I forgot to say thank you to my LGF friends for inviting me here. I like Italy, I like Sicily, and it's a real pleasure to be here and enjoy the good weather and sea. Now, Machiavelli was Italian, but Northern Europeans really liked Machiavelli's idea. And so the English are extremely Machiavellian. If you watch the Conservative Party leadership campaign, you'll see them knife each other quite happily and use extreme Machiavellian politics. And I was asked to replace Les Pook in 1998. It was only when I'd been appointed editor they told Les Pook that he was stepping down. So I phoned Les Pook up and I said, Les, this has nothing to do with me. I thought they'd asked you, wow. It was 10 years before Les Pook ever talked to International Journal Fatigue or published a paper in it again. So publishing is also a seriously Machiavellian activity. So, you know, you've got to remember you are always on the spot and about to get shot when you're a journal editor. So it keeps you on your toes. So what I'm going to talk about is achieving success. We all want to achieve success. So what does that mean from the publisher's viewpoint, the author's viewpoint? How do I help reviewers to feel they've had a successful review process? And indeed, what about my own view? And then the editor's role. What is it? Why choose to be an editor? And then I'm going to talk a little bit about potential challenges and learning opportunities, some thoughts to help young members of the audience more than anything else, and some conclusions. So from the publisher's viewpoint, really it's all about journal metrics. And the great thing about the digital world is we can get metrics for anything you want. And so you want increasing journal metrics, particularly the impact factor needs to go up preferably every year, year on year. The site score, which is Elsevier's own deal, needs to go up. The journal ranking is important, and IJ Fatigue quite often is in the top 20 of mechanical engineering journals in the world. Your review speed counts for the publisher, and so the average is 7.7 weeks in 2018 to a final decision. Online article publication time for acceptance is quite low as well. Now, I sometimes get authors emailing me and saying, have you started the review process? I've been waiting 2 months for the reviews. So I replied to them, well, I said, I was put my own paper in for American Journal. It was 18 months before I got an answer out. So IJ very quick by international standards. If you don't believe me, submit your papers to American Journal to see how long that takes. So this is increasing journal metrics, some illustrative graphs from Elsevier's own internal IJF publications. Review time steadily coming down over the years, impact factor more or less steadily going up. And what they also want to deem that you are successful is a dynamic suite of high quality and relevant special issues. And so, you can come to me and say, we're organizing a conference, can I have a special issue? If the conference is reasonably well known, or it's got good people going there, etc., the answer is likely to be yes, but you have to have a focus of that special issue, and you need to have a very high quality review process. The only way a journal maintains its reputation is by having stringent review. So the other things that Elsevier and other publishers like to see is an increased readership and subscriptions. Remember, it's all about money at the end of the day, not academic quality. That's just incidental to a publisher. You need it, and they want increased reach. And so you want a global distribution of authors. Now these little dots show the relative ranking and importance and number of publications to the International Journal Fatigue around the world. So the US is important, China's important, Europe's important, Africa doesn't have a lot, South America doesn't have a lot, etc., etc. But at least it's well spread. You've got a global reach. And that's the other thing. You want your paper in a journal to be read by people all around the world. So global reach is important. high quality accepted papers. Now, this is a hard thing to measure, but one way of measuring it is how many papers do you get, how many do you reject? And historically, publishers say, well, if you reject a lot of papers, you're doing all right. And so you've got rejected, accepted, and submitted. So basically, we reject more papers than we accept. And by rejection, you just got to read decline. It's not actually, it's rejected in a sense, it's just it didn't quite suit what we are seeing as the mission of the journal at that point in time. Now, from the author's viewpoint, achieving success means you've got a known high quality of journal and review process. You can get anything published, but you do want it to be published. Why do people strive to get their papers in philosophical transactions, the Royal Society, etc.? No one reads that, but it's got status. So, it's sort of entertaining, the idea of high quality journal. But basically, you can do that with journal metrics, impact, facts and likes, and the reputation of the editorial team. You also want an author an expeditious review and publication process, some useful and constructive reviewers' comments, not one sentence that finishes with, I recommend to accept or decline. And you get this from reviewers. They say, I've read this paper, it's not worth publishing. Thank you so much for that. That's terribly helpful. I can go back to the author and tell that not. So, I've got some comments from reviewers as well later. You want also rational and polite decline decisions by an editor. Some guidance on the reasons why the paper was declined, and I try and give an indication of alternate journals I think might work for your paper. You also want an electronic submission system that's simple and works well. Well, I have to earn that the Elsevier submission system is not the world's best. They moved briefly with International Journal Fatigue to EVISE. That was so unsuccessful, they moved back to EES, telling the editors and all of that they had taken over another company that had a particular set of software, and they'll be working on that and sorting it out. So sometime in the future, we may move to a system that works. From the reviewer's viewpoint, you don't want to be harassed too often, particularly as there are now many, many journals. So you want infrequent review requests from the journal. I try for one every 5 to 6 months for people. We have a record of what they say when they last declined papers, when they accepted, how long they took to deliver their review, etc. And that's done by the system, not by the editor. Unless the reviewer is a member of the editorial advisory board, then we expect 6 to 8 reviews a year. Now, this is an ongoing thing about journals. When I started doing this job 20 years ago, we had maybe 100, 110 submissions a year. Now we've got over 1,100. We need to change how the editorial system works. And I know that the engineering failure analysis, which has even more than IJFT, has now moved to a system of sub-editors. And I did suggest this to the publishing editor at Elsevier a while ago, and I suspect that sometime in the future we will move to sub-editors as well, where you either have areas of interest as sub-editor, or you just say you're going to take 50 papers a year and deal with them. So the reviewer would also like research review requests that are aligned with their current interests. And we do try and do that, or I try and do that certainly. You want to have preferably lucid and interesting papers. That's my task to check that you can make some sense of the paper yourself before you send it out. Polite, sincere, and appreciative communications with the editor, even when chasing an overdue review. I appreciate that everyone is busy in the community, but overdue reviews cause an editor extreme pain and much more work. And again, you'd like an electronic submission system that works well. Well, it doesn't. And one of the problems with Elsevier is you could have 2 accounts. If you have 2 accounts with 2 different emails, chances are you're trying to submit something on one, and it's the other one that's accurate, and Elsevier needs to merge that. Nonetheless, it is irritating and wastes time. So from my viewpoint, what is success achieved by? Well, always maintain objectivity. Never let the authors or reviewers get under your skin. You are here to help the community, not to hinder it. Be prepared to make decisions that may be contentious and support those with factual evidence. In other words, you're going to irritate people. I accept that. I I don't do it deliberately, but at least make a decision based on fact. Personalized emails for important author and reviewer tasks. I don't know who else up here gets to make up their emails, but the guy is semi-literate. So I have made them a bit better over the years, and Levi's I tried harder to get them all right. Turned out Elsevier had about 200 emails for various things I didn't even know about, and I gave up at some point after about 50. But the fact remains that I do send out more personalized emails than Elsevier would, and that's particularly relevant for decline decisions, where you want to be supportive of other people, and for chasing reviewers. You also need, I believe, as an editor, good record keeping. There is nothing on Elsevier you can look at to say, are you behind any paper? You get an email once a week from them saying, this has been in some part of the system for 90 days, 102 days, whatever, that's it. So I have an Excel spreadsheet where I can check everything. It's color-coded on stuff I've transferred to special issue editors and things like that, or declined up front. And that helps me to avoid papers languishing in limbo. Some years ago, Elsevier came back to us and said, look, this paper's in the system, been there for 7 years. So I looked through all the ones they told me, none of them were mine, which cheered me up. It meant that David Dow hadn't done his job. So I have my own spreadsheet of submissions with full details of dates, issues, and notes, blah, blah, blah. The other point is, do not do things in a hurry. It's very easy to send the wrong email to the wrong author about the wrong paper. Try and avoid that, because it just creates kerfuffle. Be thorough in checking details, and from my viewpoint, success is contented publisher, which means all relevant metrics increasing, and that way you get paid regularly. So the question is, why would anyone choose to be an editor? You all think, oh, I want to be an editor, it'd be status in the community. But you don't believe that. You'll just be hated by more people than you ever knew existed. So you will irritate, it's an invidious task, don't ask for it. You'll irritate circa 50% of all authors by declining their manuscripts up front. You'll irritate another few percent by making them include all their responses to reviewers with the revised manuscript. It is interesting how many authors think that the review process is a conversation between them and reviewers. No, it's a process about improving your paper. So what you need to do is include all your responses in the revised manuscript, because other people have the same questions that the reviewers have. And I have to go back to many authors and say, please include all your responses. You'd irritate a further number by not making special shortened review arrangements for them. I need promotion, I'd like to review by next week. Oh, go away, please, I've got a lot of things to do. I can't do that. I have no control over reviewers. Absolutely none. The best I can do is politely say, you know, would you do this and that. Or making them combine part 1 and part 2 papers into a single, more comprehensive and useful manuscript. This is sort of what I would call academic paper creep nowadays. You go out and do something. Part 1, this is the experimental details. Part 2, this is the theoretical analysis. Sorry, I come from a time when you wrote one decent paper, and the number of papers you wrote in your lifetime is not as important as the quality of those papers. So I don't like part 1 and part 2 papers. You'll irritate some reviewers with the electronic submission system, and you'll irritate everybody with the electronic submission, including the editors. So the possible reasons you might want to be an editor include financial reward. Well, this is in your dreams. I've never met such a stingy paymaster as Elsevier. They get slowly better after 20 years. You know, you're still on sort of living wage, as you might say. Status. Well, you know, any sensible academic has realistic self-doubts about what they really know about their topic. We'll come to that with some jokes at the end about professors. Academic kudos. With the research excellence framework of colleagues, again, you're not going to get much out of being an editor. I wonder why you do it. In actuality, I think, this is the person we remember, that an editor is usually driven by a keen and altruistic interest in the journal's subject area. I really like fatigue. I've liked fatigue since I came across it as a second-year student in 1974. And you know, you also have, and I think this is important, the challenge of improving the reputation of the journal. When I started as an editor of IJ Fatigue, we published 6 issues a year, and there were a very small number journals, and that's what cheers me up. If you have an interest in staying abreast of the current developments in fatigue, because you do get to see the papers, you do get an idea of what the world's working on, and that's sort of interesting. And you also need, in my view, or driven by an overdeveloped work ethic. Remember, this is a spare time activity for me, amongst other spare time activities, which I used to have quite a few and still have some. So in my spare time, I dealt with 453 papers in 2016, 505 in 2017, etc., etc. So, you know, this is not insignificant if you want to do the job reasonably well. So what are the challenges of being an editor? Well, as I've said, authors who want the usual review processes truncated because of some deadline they may have, you know, your promotional issues are not mine. So, you know, if you want to get a paper in for promotion or the ref or whatever, just do it in time. I cannot sort things out quickly. Authors who do not submit their revised paper within the deadline time, you have 3 months for major revisions, and most major revisions are not that major, sometimes they are. But, you know, people then hang on for months after that, just forget about it. It makes the journal metrics expand, and so what you would like to get is your paper will be withdrawn. And when you come to submit the revised version, you find you can't because it's no longer there. So, you know, please stick with it. So, those all require interventions by the editor, and that increases both my workload and the decision time for the journal. It's not good news. Challenges are also plagiarism. Well, you know, plagiarism is not quite what you might think an undergraduate plagiarism is, but it's reusing bits of your previous papers or indeed bits of someone else's papers. And now there is software called Crossref that tells me exactly how much your manuscripts overlap with anything else that's published and find on the internet, and I can check that original source very quickly. So I've been having some conversations with authors in the conference recently, in which there was 50–60% overlap between their paper and other conference proceedings in conferences published by, for example, the SAE, the Society for Automotive Engineers. One guy came back and said, this is published in a non-archival conference proceeding. How do we put it in an archival journal? So I showed him the website, which was flogging this non-archival publication for $25. I said, excuse me, what's non-archival mean? So Crossref software reduces that possibility, and by incremental I mean sort of part A, part B, or you take your paper, you include 60%, you give it a little bit. Academic dishonesty turns up very infrequently. Let me be honest, the community is surprisingly honest. Those are dual submissions. I think I've had one case of that in 21 years. The author submitted it to 2 journals, and to see which one accepts it first, and then leaves you to find out that in fact it's been published already. Now that's illegal in a sense. So now you have to sign something that says you are not actually submitting to any other journal. And if you are caught doing that, it means that the editors are very unlikely to take more of your papers until he's forgotten about it, which can be a very long time. Another one is unacknowledged contribution by people or laboratories. This has turned up a few cases. I got a paper from the Middle East once, sent it to some reviewers in Germany, and they said, oh, this guy came to our lab and took our results, and here they are. So naturally you get the paper turned down, and I make a note, this author is not trustworthy. You can sanction by refusing to consider future manuscripts. Now that does sound like a fairly weak sanction, but it can be quite strong. Other challenges are reviewers who do not read the emails. Admittedly, the Elsevier email sent by ES is about 5 pages long. I apologize for that. All the critical information is well hidden about halfway through the email, but there is a link on which you click to accept the review. The system then records that, and you can then upload a review. If you email the editor saying, thank you, I'll review this, that's not helpful because you haven't clicked on the link, and I need to go back to you and say, click on the link, blah, blah, blah. So, and then even worse, they do not submit the review in time, or perhaps at all. You get a series of emails chasing you up, and eventually you get one saying, I'm forced to uninvite you, and this unfortunate decision is resulting in not having done anything useful. So the other challenge is when you do get 2 reviews that are diametrically opposite. One says this is fine, accepted with some discussion, and the other says no, this is terrible, rejected with some discussion. And this turns up really quite frequently. And then you have to find a third or fourth reviewer. And actually, I do go through the reviews and make sure that they're not too rude to the author and that they don't have any particular statements about quality of paper in them. Now, the other thing that's bugged me on occasion is authors who cannot accept the outcomes of the review process. I had one author who submitted a paper that I thought was pretty mediocre. So I sent it to two very senior people in the exact field of his paper, and they both said reject. So I rejected his paper. Now that irritated him for reasons I'm not clear about, and so he wrote to all the editorial board members with emails, he wrote to senior Elsevier executives, he posted stuff on iMechanica, and he emailed colleagues at my university I worked at saying, scumbag James, wah, here are my brightest things since sliced bread. And the last laugh's always the editors. I haven't accepted a paper from them in the last 13, 14 years. And he said to me 2 years ago, he said, well, I'll wait until you stop being editor. He's had to wait quite a long time. But he did it also to other editors. He did it to Hill at Oxford. Hill also got together with him, etc. So it really doesn't pay to have these bad interactions with editors and reviewers. The challenge for myself is making ill-founded decisions on manuscripts. I am not an expert in every area of fatigue. Sometimes I read them and think, I don't know, this doesn't seem terribly exciting. But you can substantiate contentious possible decisions informally with other senior researchers, and I have done that in the past. I think people say, am I being unfair with this paper? And the editor come back and say, yes. So the other problem, as I've said, is the increasing number of submissions per annum resulting from digital submission. And sometimes you have to approach 20 plus reviewers before you get 2 useful review reports. And that increases workload and the time to reach a decision. You do have opportunities as an editor. So you can set the aims and scope of the journal, which we've done. David McDowell and myself set the current aims of IJ fatigue, which is now more mechanistically based. And so, as I say, we're focused on mechanisms of fatigue and in taking those mechanisms into life prediction. You can ensure you've got appropriate subject coverage. You can input into editorial board appointments. You can input into editor appointments. And occasionally get the opportunity to input into the cover design. So this sort of background image on the cover of IJ Fatigue is in fact an image of a small cracked fracture surface from my PhD thesis. Some years ago they decided they needed to upgrade the cover, which used to be blue. And they sent me, Dean Eastridge sent me an image of something, and I said, I don't think this is fatigue, mate. So I sent him one back, and that's the picture. So some thoughts to help mainly young reviewers, old authors will know all of this anyway. Why bother doing research if no one will read it? Now that's a good test of whether a project is worth doing anyway. I've had colleagues from Asia come and work with me. And they invented a research program. I said, well, why do you want to do this? They said, well, it hasn't been done. I said, the reason it hasn't been done is because no one's interested in it. If no one's interested in it, you won't get your work published. So you need to think about that. Edge factor is becoming increasingly important, so you do need publications. And publishers no longer edit the language of papers. Elsevier used to. Now if you write a lousy paper, I'm not going to edit it. The reviewers won't edit it. It'll get published with bad English. And the problem is, if your English is so bad that people speak good English, you can't understand what you're saying, your chance of being cited gets lower. And so it pays to ensure your manuscript is clearly written in good technical English. If no one understands it, then it will not be cited. And equally, I've noticed even in this conference, if you're writing a paper or presentation in English, change the default language to UK English. That will pick up your spelling errors, usually, and it will give you some grammatical advice. So I see regular spelling errors in presentations that, if you have default language English, you'll find them for you. Not default language German, Italian, French. Those are wonderful languages, but the technical language of the world is English. So use spell check. It's pretty useful in Office. Don't engage in disputes with reviewers and editors, and particularly be polite in your response to reviewers. Remember, your revised version may be sent back to the same reviewers. If you spent 10 pages slagging them off, they might not be well disposed towards accepting it. An important point here is remember that a conference paper, if published online, is archival. A subsequent journal paper then has to be very significantly different. And so I would suggest you follow what always used to be the case before you have digital publishing. You write short conference papers, you retain crucial information for the presentation and the journal paper, and therefore it's not online, and you can then publish it. And people forgetting this. You look at your procedure, structure, integrity papers, they're all beautiful papers, they're proper journal papers. So you try and publish that again in IJ fatigue or something, and it's not going to be easy unless you really extend it. So, as a sort of ref type comment, I was once on a research excellence framework panel in the UK. A good paper will contain a mix of analytical, numerical, and experimental work that yields improved mechanistic understanding. Telling me how to find fatigue loop better by 5% is not, in my view, particularly interesting. And, you know, it might be useful, but it's not scientifically interesting. We could find fatigue loop between 5% 100 years ago. So, they do not present models based on parametric curve fitting and not underpinned by physical meaning. This is very popular. I have a new model. How do you get your new model? I do some tests and I fit a line to it, and there's all sorts of parameters in here that adjust for all the things I don't understand. Well that's useful. So I want to buy now. I'm sorry. These are usually very similar to existing work and are seldom shown to offer any statistically demonstrated advantage. This is the other thing. People say in their conclusions, I have reasonable results. What does that mean? Are you the same as everyone else? 5% better? People do not do very often statistics on how good or better their model is. A good paper is likely accepted if the conclusions can be extended to other situations and materials, and the conclusions equally don't indicate that the work is only preliminary and needs some further work to do something else. That's like shooting yourself in the foot. So the other thing is, be philosophical when papers are declined. It happens to everybody, even editors. I've been trying to get a paper published. I thought it was quite good for about 4 years. I'll get there eventually. Many factors may be influencing a decline decision. And in IGF, the decline out of scope is the only option you have other than reject technical reasons. So I use reject technical reasons when Crossref says it's too much, and I use decline out of scope for everything else, even if it's not actually out of scope in the sense that it's fatigue. It's out of scope because it doesn't deal sufficiently with mechanisms. Remember, a decline decision is not a judgment on your work. Don't take it personally. It's more like a judgment on how you print the paper than anything else, and you know, this is a skill. So academia and paper writing are games. Seek to play them well and think about what is really required to be successful. I hope that I've tried to help you a bit. So in conclusion, being an editor of a major international journal is a privilege. You're a temporary custodian and should endeavour to leave the journal in a better state than when you were appointed. I think that I will do that with the International Journal of Fatigue, so I'm cheerful. It's also hard work because it requires your input virtually every day. Whether I'm on holiday, whether I'm in New Zealand, or anywhere else, I still have to get out the laptop and do Elsevier. And if you don't do it, you end up with so much work that it does pay you to do it. It should also be approached the job editor with objectivity and enthusiasm, and always keep in mind that having a paper decline feels like an endeavour to be supportive of authors. And finally, maintain a realistic outlook on your own expertise. There's a popular joke going around, certainly in the UK, that defines a professor as someone who knows more and more about less and less until they know everything about nothing. So I tell myself that regularly. And there's a certain truth in it. You know, I've become an expert in a relatively small area of fatigue. It's useful in court cases, but you know, there's all sorts of things I don't understand. And finally, another joke from the past. Using a homophone, which is two or more words pronounced alike but different in meaning, give derivation and spelling. An expert might be defined using a homophone as a has-been, which is X, drip under pressure, which is a spurt. So an expert is really a has-been, drip under pressure. So, you know, I tell myself these jokes regularly, particularly when I'm in a bad mood with authors or reviewers. So finally, let me acknowledge the significant input made to the stature of the journal over the last 21 years by the Elsevier team, co-editors, the editorial board, and most importantly, in my view, the reviewers and authors who supported it over the years. Thank you all, and thanks for listening.